Right, to remove the sprocket shaft, I've got a pair of pliers that have been carefully mutilated so that they'll hold that knob firmly, keeping the sprocket firmly in place with my thumb. I unscrew the button, the rewind button, and there's its spring. There's a washer in there too. Take care not to lose that. There's a single screw through here which holds the film sprocket to the sprocket shaft. I'll remove that, pop the sprocket shaft up from underneath and lift out the sprocket. Here, this screw is on top of the release arm, and it has a return spring which is busy trying to get away. Remove that and its spring, pop that arm out. This arm has a return spring on the bottom of it. I'm going to remove that carefully now because it's easily lost like all other springs, and it's just as well to have it off and have it somewhere safe as to let the thing get away. I'm going to remove this clip from the top here. Drop out the arm. This is the lock arm that locks the film advance when you reach the end of the film. And its return spring, of course, I've popped in there. At the base of the camera, this is the lock for the rewind, the film rewind button. That's the lock for it there. So I've just unhooked the spring from that so that it's not under tension. Remove the screw, remove the spring, remove the rewind button lock. We have 3 screws here that hold this shaft in place. Now I'll remove the top part from that first. Okay, so I've got to remove this screw from the top of the film advance. I've got a screwdriver suitably mutilated to suit that. Oh, it doesn't want to come loose, so I'll just drop that lock lever in place to lock the film advance so that I'm not fighting with it. That's it. So the film advance shaft is locked as though it was at, the frame counter was at number 1. That allows me to unscrew that screw from the top. And I can lift off the screw, the gear, the washer underneath it, the drive dog there, that plate, this spring, the gear. So under here we can pop that lock lever back out because we're done with that. 2 screws. One of them holds this little pawl in place. That pawl acts on the wheel in the film advance to stop the advance from rolling backwards at any time. I'll remove the spring from the top of that because otherwise I'll lose it. The pawl and a spacer that fits underneath it, and a single screw over here holds this bush in for the that bush positions the top of the film advance shaft. Here's the clutch. The clutch provides some controlled slippage between the sprocket and the film sprocket and the take-up spool, because as the film is wound through the camera it builds up on the take-up spool, and so if the two were bound together firmly, inevitably you'd be pulling the film through faster with the take-up spool than the sprocket wanted to allow it to travel through the camera, and you would end up ripping out sprockets, the sprocket holes, or the film between the sprocket holes. So some slippage is absolutely required. That's normal. Here's our film advance shaft. Quite commonly the grease here will be dry and sticky. It is in this case, but it's by no means severe. I can lift out the spool, the film take-up spool, and its bush. There's a metal bush in there. So at this stage, the camera body is stripped down as far as I would normally strip it down for cleaning. The front of the body I will deal with separately as I service the shutter. All the body components here now, I'll sort them out. The springs I'll put to one side. The other components will go through the ultrasonic cleaner after they've been through the degreaser. So that's how you strip down a Retina IIIS for servicing. And cleaning up is the tedious bit, and then lubrication and reassembly. So the sub-assemblies I have to deal with, basically I do the job in stages. Typically I strip a camera down like this, strip the body down completely. The mechanical components go into the degreaser and then into the ultrasonic cleaner. But while they're soaking in the degreaser, typically I'd work on other components. Normally I start with the body casting like this, and I'll be interested in doing a couple of things here. First I want to remove all these traces of old adhesive and threads of leatherette and stuff from the base, so I've got a nice clean casting for reassembly. That's not absolutely essential. As long as that's relatively clean, that's good. This camera is in quite good condition. Sometimes there's a lot of corrosion that needs to be dealt with. Not in this case. So I'll clean down those surfaces, get them nice and clean. The tripod socket, I'll take great care there to make sure that those 3 screws are absolutely tight. The tripod sockets often come loose on these Retina cameras, partly just because fasteners come loose over time as a matter of course, and partly because the tripod socket can be under quite a bit of stress as people try and force tripod screws in there and then give everything a good shake just for good measure. So the screws that hold the tripod socket to the camera body, they can be under quite a bit of stress over time as people abuse the tripod socket. So that needs to be done there. Once I've got the body clean and tidy, and this is all going while the other stuff's being soaking in the degreaser, normally I would turn my attention to the shutter, strip this down completely, service it, reassemble it, have it back in pretty much this state, although without these front rings in place, ready to be reassembled to the camera body. The rangefinder is one of the other main sub-assemblies, and they're fairly complicated, the rangefinders in this model. This one's sticky. You can see possibly it's very slow to return this. It's sluggish, doesn't exactly snap back into place. That's because the grease in there is very sticky. This has to be disassembled. Part of it goes through the ultrasonic cleaner. We've got a surface silvered mirror here, a full surface silvered mirror. Can't afford to touch that front surface. If you mark it, you'll scratch it. If there's no way to get the scratches out. There's a semi-silvered mirror at this point. The front surface towards the front of the camera of that mirror is just plain glass. You can clean that with a cotton bud and a bit of glass cleaner, no problem at all. The rear surface, the surface towards the eyepiece here, that's surface silvered, and if you attack that with anything exciting like a cotton bud, chances are you'll start wiping that silver off. If you clean that silver off, you won't have a secondary image for your rangefinder anymore, or if you do, it'll be a very poor one. So that surface silvered semi-silvered mirror there is quite delicate. What I normally do is remove the rear glass here, remove the arm from the bottom of the rangefinder. I take out the frame here. This camera has multiple frames visible in the finder. I remove this assembly completely, and so I've got this, at that stage I've got this body down to the body, the semi-silvered mirror, the front surface mirror, and this element through the middle here with that plastic lens. That'll go through the ultrasonic cleaner. It doesn't take long. I'm just interested in getting that semi-silvered mirror that's clean without having to physically touch it. The ultrasonic cleaner does a wonderful job of that. Even then you have to be cautious. If you cooked it for a good long time, the ultrasonic cleaner will happily clean all that silver off for you. It's not fussy about what it eats. So that's the rangefinder. The shutter, as I said, that has to be stripped right down. There's a few things to watch with the shutter. I'll mention those as I get to it. And the top cover. The top cover, I remove the front window glass there to clean those. The rear eyepiece glass here, that stays in it. There's a couple of flats on this eyepiece. They're not for putting a spanner on. Don't try and unscrew that, you just bugger it up. It's crimped into the body. It's aluminium, it's easily marked up. You leave it in place, you clean that glass in place. The plastic piece here on the top of the meter window, in this case that's completely uncracked. Now that's quite unusual. Quite often they've got minor cracks. Now minor cracks, that's quite normal, you just leave them alone. If it's gone completely, then it has to be replaced. It's a tedious business. I can go into that another day. This one's in perfect order. The only thing I've noticed with it is it doesn't sit dead flat because someone's pushed on it at this point, and it's sort of held into there with crimps. The metal's been crimped over the edge of the plastic. I'll warm up this plastic window with a hairdryer just to take the chill off it so it's not feeling fragile and prone to cracking, and then I will attempt to push it back down past where it was staked by the metal frame there. That's the only exciting part I see there. I don't want to have to replace this. I could do. I've got some spares that I've made, but I don't want to use them unless I have to. The lens assembly, that'll be serviced separately. It looks in quite good condition. I noticed that the front surface of that lens is very dusty looking. That may be no problem at all. That may clean off quite well. It may be that there's some deterioration of the front surface, particularly the coating. I won't know until I come to that stage. However, that's about it for the moment. I'm going to soak my components into the ultrasonic cleaner and then come back and start work cleaning up the body. I'm going to start work cleaning up the body casting. I'll start at the base of the camera for convenience. I'm just going to use my scalpel to make sure I can scrape off all the big lumps, if you like. And what you're seeing there is the back of the leatherette, because the leatherette is textured. Some of that probably carries through to the cloth base. And some of it will just be the pattern of the adhesive as it was applied, no doubt. I'm doing this just so that I've got a nice clean surface when I reapply the leatherette, and that I'm not introducing any lumps and bumps. I'm just scraping this quite gently with the scalpel. You don't have to gouge into the aluminium. All you need to do is lift off the loose stuff. Let's brush that dust away. I'm checking these 3 screws on the tripod socket, and unusually they're quite tight. As I say, very often they're not. Right, I'll do the same now to the front sides of the body casting. I'm not attempting to get this down to shiny metal with the scalpel, I'm just taking off the major lumps. I'll treat it with some solvent in a minute, that'll help loosen up what didn't come loose. That'll do. And on this side. And that'll do. Alright, if you start using solvents like acetone, be cautious, it'll absolutely ruin leatherette. If you let it get onto the leatherette, it'll ruin it. Likewise, you don't want it all over your painted edges, so you be cautious about applying it. But here I'm using a cotton bud to apply it to that front side there of the body, and it'll soften up the adhesive that's left. And the bulk of that will come off with it. Anything that looks a bit stubborn, I'll give it a little extra attention with the scalpel now. As you can see, it's a bit time consuming. In the fullness of time you'll get there. Take your time, be cautious, keep the solvent away from the leatherette on the back of the camera or from the painted edges. Alright, I have my camera body here all cleaned up, fit for reassembly. So I've removed, you can see that I've got rid of the vast bulk of any old adhesive and rubbish from these surfaces. I've cleaned any old grease and dirt and dust out from any of the other areas of the camera body, and so this now it can be put aside ready for the reassembly once I get my components back from the degreaser and ultrasonic cleaner. So I can pop this to one side now and think about my next task. And my next task in this case, looking around, I think I'll clean up the top cover and deal with that. Here I have the top cover. I'm just going to clean this up now. So I'll start by removing the accessory shoe. Be careful with your screwdriver. You don't want your screwdriver to slip and mar the surface of the screws or the accessory shoe, or indeed any of the rest of the camera. So I removed that. It's just to make it easier to clean. Remove the 2 glass windows from the front of the camera top cover. As I said, this disc here is slightly displaced. I can see where it's been pushed out of line, and it'll just be from someone pressing down on it too hard, and I want to see if I can push that back into place. I'm just going to go away and warm that up with a hairdryer, see if I can. I just want to make sure the plastic's not brittle when I do that. I'm not trying to melt it, I just want to make sure it's warm so it's not brittle, and then I'm going to try and push that back into place. I'll be back in a minute and I'll tell you how successful I was. Well, that was successful. It went exactly as hoped. I warmed up that whole plastic window with a hairdryer, came back, pressed on the inside where it wasn't down behind its little piece of metal, and it just went straight back into place. So that's good. Means I don't have to do anything awful like replace that window, and I can carry on cleaning up the rest of the top cover. So I'll do that with a little bit of naphtha on a cotton bud. And I can see that the top cover's a little bit discoloured. It's got a sort of an orangey brown tint to it, which may indicate that the camera used to belong to a cigarette smoker, or it may indicate nothing of the sort. It might just be oils that have deposited on the surface. Old cameras, you are never sure what their past history was. They could have been sitting somewhere on a shelf on display for a decade or two. Anything's a possibility. This is quite clean generally, but it has got a bit of a... there's some sort of deposit on the surface, something a bit orange coloured or brown. Nicotine was the first thing that came to mind. I've got to be careful here working near that window. I do not want to damage the plastic with any harsh solvents. So here I'm just going to wipe that window very carefully with a bit of glass cleaner. And I'll use the same glass cleaner to clean the top cover at that point, rather than use the naphtha, because I know that the glass cleaner won't eat the plastic, and naphtha will take the shine off it. That's good. I'll just clean round the eyepiece, around the outside of that eyepiece with a bit of naphtha. As I said, this is one of the early production examples of this model. It's been around a few months longer than some of the main stuff. Alright, that looks good. I'll pop that accessory shoe back in place. Accessory shoes are commonly scarred up. They've often got a scratch down the middle of them, and that's from having had an electronic flash with a hot shoe contact pushed into the mount. The shoe is chromed brass and it's satin chrome. Satin chrome is extremely delicate. It marks very easily, it's quite thin, and that's what happens is if you force in an electronic flash with a hot shoe contact into that shoe, it ends up creating a scar, typically that runs all the way right to the middle of the shoe, and it's extremely common. probably 2/3, no, probably 80% of the retinas you see, that'll be the case. So that's good. That's all. I'm happy with the state of that now. I want to clean the glass, and I'll use some domestic glass cleaner on a cotton bud or Q-tip, and I'll clean these surfaces. Usually start with the outside one because the outside one is the most accessible, and it's easy to judge your results when once you've got one surface clean. So now I'm cleaning the inside surface of the rear of the eyepiece. I'm swirling that about, and because it's nice and clean on the outside, I can check my results and see how well I'm doing. That looks good. That takes me to the two pieces of glass for the front there. These are not in a bad state, they're a little bit dirty. So I want to clean both faces carefully. These are not lenses. You don't need to treat them with the same delicacy that you would use for dealing with your taking lens. These are just pieces of plain glass there to keep the dust out, but otherwise allow you to see through. I'm just holding these against the light. I can still see a lot of marks on there. Now those marks will be probably finger grease and various other contaminants. And if you hold them to the light, you can see which surface they're on, and then you can deal with them. They're just around the edges. They're around where the glass is held in against the camera top. And you can do a particularly thorough job of cleaning the glass if you remove it from the camera top. If you leave it in the camera top cover, you can clean it fairly well, but you will discover that the edges never look entirely clean, because contaminants will be coming in from underneath the metal surfaces. That looks quite good. All right. You can do a particularly thorough job like this doing it on the piece of paper, but you will inevitably have to do some more cleaning once the glass is back in the top cover. That's quite normal, that's to be expected, and that is not a problem. Just pop that into place. Once they're in place, then you can inspect them and make any adjustments you need to. I'm just making sure that glass is pushed right down into place. That's better. And now I can inspect those surfaces, looking to see if there are any obvious problems, making sure I didn't leave a fingerprint on the inside or anything awful like that. That's quite good. This meter window here, I'll give that a quick wipe with some glass cleaner. Be very gentle on that. That plastic is fairly easily marked. It scratches quite easily. I've done those inner surfaces. I'm just doing the meter dial window. Of course, getting as close as this, I can get a... That was me getting my greasy finger on the glass on the front again already. Getting as close as this, I can see the imperfections I didn't see before. I see a tiny hairline crack, a couple of those appearing from the edges. They're of no great consequence, that's quite normal. That top cover's in good condition. So our top cover there is pretty much ready to go on. There's only one other point that's worth watching for, and that's the frame counter. Sometimes that'll be grimy where a camera has sat in one position for a long time. Typically I just use a cotton bud with a bit of naphtha on it. Just advance the frame counter, wipe the dial as it goes around, and it just removes any dust and dirt. That all looks good. So that top cover is ready. That's another part of the puzzle done, and I think the rangefinder is probably the next task to deal with.